Money is one of the biggest sources of stress in couples, but it's not because of how much they make. It's because of the traps that they have fallen as a couple. I am going to be talking about the 10 mistakes that couples make in their relationships. Number one, not having a vision as a couple. Many couples come together, they have a vision for everything else, where they want to live, how many kids they want to have, and even what kind of life they want to live. But when it comes to money, there is no real shared vision. So they both are working hard. They're bringing in the money. The bills are getting paid and the money is coming in, but they're not actually moving in the same direction financially. One person might be wanting to pay off debt. One person may be wanting to have a house. One person may be wanting to save money, but they have no clue or they have no idea what they want to do financially as a couple because they have no vision. And without a shared vision, it is very difficult to make decisions because they just make random decisions. But the goal here is have a vision for your money as a couple. Before you say I do, or if you've already said I do, make sure that you're sitting down and you're having money dates and you're working on your money together and have a vision. Just as the way you have a vision for everything else, have a vision for your money. What are your money goals? Do you have any plans? What are your money goals for the next 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? So make sure that you're sitting down and you're having a shared money goal together. Number two is not understanding each other's money personality. Each and every one of us have different money personalities, and this is brought by the way we were brought up, the stories that we had when we were growing up, and even the way we have spent money before we came together. And when we do not understand each other's money personalities, this causes a lot of tension because one person might be a spender, the other one may be a saver. And maybe the one person, when they were growing up, they hardly had any money, and now they have money coming in and they want to hold on to that money for their dear life because they don't ever want to run out of money. On the other hand, the other person might be, maybe they were brought up in a different way. They were shown money is there to be spent, and they just spend and spend and spend, and without any care. So it's very, very important that we understand each other's money personality, because when we understand each other, instead of having our different money personalities dividers, they can actually complement one another, because the person who is a spender can be helped by the person who is not a spender to tone down. And the person who is just holding on to money, they can be helped by the other person who doesn't want to spend money at all, because even this can hinder couples a lot, because one person might be wanting to invest, but the other person is not a risk taker at all. They just want to hold on to their money no matter how much opportunity there is to maybe get into an investment. But this one person is saying, no, it's too risky. So, but when each other balances out and understand, and when we come together and just understand each other, that is such a great strength for both of us when we balance each other. Number three, not having a budget as a couple. A lot of couples think that budgeting is tough, and they hear the word budget and they don't want to deal with it. And the only thing that they want to come together about is when there's crisis, as I said before. But doing a budget as a couple is very, very important, because it brings your minds together, and it also strengthens your money goals. And this is where you operate, and it also gives you a vision as a couple for your money. Because if you don't have a budget together as a couple, maybe one person, as I said before, is a spender and they're just spending money without even knowing what they're spending. The other one wants to save, but then there is maybe no money to be saved because the other person has spent the money. And this can grow resentment, and it can also bring strife. And that's why a lot of couple tend to fight about money, because they don't have a budget. So don't be scared by the word budget. You can also call it something else, but budget is, I don't know, a lot of people feel like when you say the word budget, it's so restrictive. It's just a guide. Maybe you can call it a guide. Maybe a guide. So have a guide of what is guiding your finances, because this will strengthen your marriage. Number 4 money mistake that couples make is keeping financial secrets. Financial secrets are more common than people realize. Hidden credit cards, hidden debts, hidden accounts, hidden shoppings, all these things that one person might be using money or have a secret account that one person does not even know. And this is the fastest way to break trust or to erode trust in one another. So if you have any secrets or different accounts that your partner doesn't know, it's about time to come to the right, because when this comes to the light and somebody realizes that you've been doing this, if you cannot trust that partner that you have with your money, then what else can you trust? Because I feel like, money is also such an intimate thing that there is no need that we should not be putting secrets to one another. This is sometimes called financial infidelity, and it can damage our relationship deeply because of the betrayal. Transparency with money doesn't just bring stability, it also builds emotional security as well. Mistake number 5 that couples make is not preparing for emergencies. Things happen in life, like job losses, car breakdown, washer breaking down, anything. These things happen, and if you're not prepared for them as a couple, there is this tension that can come in when something happens and you look at each other and it's like, how are we gonna face this? Have you ever been in a situation where you're looking at each other and wondering, you give me the solution, and the other person is like, you give me the solutions, but when you're prepared, there is no need for that because you already have that emergency. And this can cause a lot of tension because one person can start blaming the other one and saying, no, you are the spender, that's the reason we don't have the money, or you did ABC, that's the reason that we don't have the money. So it's very, very important to be prepared as a couple for emergencies, because when you're not prepared, then this also makes you as a couple get into more debt. If you're already into debt, you start using your credit cards, and now this debt now begins bringing another tension on top of the tension that may be already there because of this emergency that was not prepared. So just make sure that you're preparing for an emergency as a couple. Number 6 is not knowing your financial numbers. This one is very common. In many relationships, one person manages the money while the other partner knows very little about their financial situation. They might not even know how much debt they're in as a couple. They might not even know how much savings they have as a couple, what their credit scores is, or what is the condition overall of their money stability. Maybe the wife is a stay-home mom and the husband is working, and the wife is doing all that she can to manage this money, but the other person, the husband, does not even have a clue what's going on. When both couples understand their numbers, it becomes much easier, and then one person does not have to feel the stress of the finances, because the person who is out there may be working and the other person who is dealing with the money might be feeling the financial pressure, might be looking at the debt numbers and feeling, oh my goodness, we're in so much debt, and the other person doesn't know, and this one person is dealing with debt all by themselves. They're wondering, how are we ever gonna get out of debt? Well, the other person is just moving on, like, okay, they're bringing the money, but they're not even thinking about the financial situation. So it's very, very important to be on the same page, not even just for unity, but to just make sure that one person is not feeling the financial burden alone. Money mistake number 7 that couples make is ignoring their long-term goals. Sometimes couples get focused on day-to-day living, but then they forget or they neglect to look at their future and what their goals are. They forget to plan for the next 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. They forget to look at their retirement. What is it that we want to do for retirement? They're just in this whole area of like, okay, we're working, we're doing all that we can, but we have no idea or clue about our financial long-term goals. The reason most of the couples don't or forget to focus on their long-term is because, let's say you're dealing with a lot of debt. How am I going to talk about, investing in the future where my present is such a mess? But don't forget that, as a couple, making sure that we have long-term goals is important even as we deal with day-to-day things. Put a little percentage of what you're paying off the debt with to start saving or building your long-term future, as opposed to like concentrating so much on the day-to-day activities. And if you're in so much debt, I would say fine, pay off your debt if you're like in high interest debt, but do not forget your long-term goals as a couple, because it's so important, because you don't want to all the time to pass by and then come a time when you're old or you're in a season of your life and start regretting and wondering, why didn't we save for the future? Number 8 mistake that couples make is comparing their finances with other couples. You might be a couple that is feeling like, oh my goodness, we are not doing as well as couple A, B, C. And with the social media these days, you might see couples on vacations, couples always eating out, couples always doing the things that maybe you want to do. But guess what? Social media or the outside doesn't give you a whole picture of anybody's financial situation. You don't even know whether they're using debt. You don't even know whether they're just doing these things to numb things that they're going through. So don't compare your finances, or you as a wife or telling the other person, we should be like ABC couple. Or maybe you see ABC couple, they bought a new car and you're like, oh, we should get a new car too. You don't know their financial situation, and maybe you're in a better financial situation than they are, and just because you're seeing the outside, you don't know what's going on in the inside. So don't make that mistake of comparing yourself with other couples, because you don't know what's going on in their households. Mistake number 9 is lifestyle inflation. A lot of times couples can make this mistake of lifestyle inflation when their income increases or they get bonuses. And sometimes we think like lifestyle inflation is just for sometimes individuals, but couples also do make these mistakes. They get a bonus or there's a raise, and now the house that they're living in that is so perfect is not big enough for them. The car that is so perfect that is feeding their family and is running well is no longer enough for them. So they feel like, oh my goodness, we need to upgrade our lives. They may feel like, okay, it's no need to be cooking anymore. Now we need to be eating out. So doing this when you get your bonuses is such a great mistake, because sometimes, as I said, we think that we are only concentrating on the now, and instead of using that money maybe to pay off debt or to build your future, you're just thinking about now, and you're thinking about the inflation of your lifestyle, which is, it can be okay, but you don't have to blow up all your income or all your increase into lifestyle inflation. Because if you have a great house, stay in that house and think about the future that you want to build, instead of going to buy a house that maybe you have more house than you need. So lifestyle inflation is so common that I see, and I hope you're not one of those that make this mistake. Mistake number 10 that couples make is not having money conversations. And we almost kind of like touched on this a little bit, but this is where like there is radio silence, no conversation about money. This is where the couples think, that things will work themselves out. We don't have to talk about money, because every single time that we talk about money, it brings tension. We forget that once we start talking about money conversation, this is where we start building a future and a strong financial future together. Maybe it's starting that conversation of, as I said before, what is our money goals? And if money brings tension, look at a time like when can we talk about money, or what is the best time to talk about money? And if you're already doing the budget, you are already definitely having a money conversation. But this is for those that make this mistake of where they don't even want to talk about money, because Maybe you grew up seeing that every time maybe your parents were talking about money, there was always money fights, and maybe the money is not even enough, and you feel like, what is it that we're going to be talking about money? But it's very, very important to have this money conversation, because if you don't have money conversation, how are you going to live the rest of your life? Maybe go on a date and call it money date, and there you're forced to talk about money, and maybe this is where you make it a place both of you love, and maybe it will create such a great atmosphere. Or you can talk about this at home, or set up the table, put on some nice music, something that makes you joyful. Instead of like looking to talk about money as attention, make it such a joyful thing that both of you enjoy to do. Here's the truth. Most couples don't just make these mistakes because they're not making enough money. A lot of couples make a lot of money and they make a lot of these mistakes. And I hope this was helpful. Let me know which one of these mistakes have you made, or which one of these mistakes shocked you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give me a like, give me a subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.